Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful Campfire chat. Again, my name is Lakara Simmons, and I am the program manager for GCAPP Youth Advisory Council. And I am so honored and having the privilege to introduce some of the wonderful ladies who are a part of our Youth Advisory Council. So I'm going to start with Morgan and let Morgan introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Street. I am from Peachtree City, Georgia, and I represent the Fulton County area.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany George. I am from Woodstock, Georgia, and I represent Cherokee County.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mega Sequera. I'm from Duluth, Georgia, and I represent Forsyth County.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ayla Burks, and I'm from Tweaks County, Dry Bench, Georgia, and I represent the Tweaks County area.
Lovely, and thank you, everyone, and thank you for everybody joining our Campfire chat. There we go. And so for everyone who is participating with us on Hopin, we invite you to be our co-host. So we have some questions, but we also want to hear you all. So we know this is a campfire chat regarding sexual influences in the media. So think about it this way. Let's make it real. So it's the summertime. We just finished Memorial Day weekend, and it's time for us to go camping. And you know how we're roasting the marshmallows on the fire and we're having those fun, intimate conversations with some laughter. Think about it this way. This is how we're going to really be engaged and have our chat today. So before we really get started, let's just talk about media, ladies. So I know for me, when I was growing up, not too long ago, but when I was growing up, media looked different for me. So I know during the summertime when I was at my auntie's house, I used to go ahead and read the Jet magazine books. I'm not sure if I'm aging myself a little bit, but Jet magazine books and reading those, or even looking Nickelodeon magazines. And then for me, it was like the radio, but you had to put your cordless phone by the radio speaker so that when you was like, hey friend, give me a minute, I'll be right back. So tell me, what does media look like for you all today?
I can start. For me, when I think of media, I think of social media, and then I also think of the news. But it's also cool because today those two are kind of merging, and I think a lot of us young people find out our news from social media first, and then you might turn on the TV, but that's just what comes to mind when I think of media.
Tell me about media. Tell me a little bit about media.
When I think of media, I think of all media. Oh, you can go.
You can go, no worries.
So when I think of media, I think of all the possible media outlets like TV, radio, news, publicity, celebrities. So basically, I think of media, how it reached to us and how we portray media in the media and how media reaches other people.
For me, social media kind of revolves around like pop culture, and especially like Tiffany was saying, a lot of politics have now merged their way into, say, like Instagram, Twitter, and that's how a lot of us are finding out our information, whether they be right or wrong. But I feel like social media and media itself now is just a way for pop culture and politics and current events to kind of mix all together.
And I would just say the same thing as everyone else has said. Media for me is social media, any news outlet, magazines, TV, just anything where you can get information.
I think that's great. And so when we think about, I'm going to piggyback off your comment for a minute. And I know you said that media is really social media. So with us being with us being under social distancing and quarantining, what have been some of your favorite media outlets? So is it Instagram, Facebook, a media outlet, Netflix? Like what is the media that you guys are currently watching?
I know I'm always going straight to Instagram. Twitter is a close second. I think those are just ways to like quickly see what's going on in other people's lives, even if it is just like their highlight reel. It's still a nice way to feel a little bit connected to people, especially in this time.
I find myself like spending a lot of TikTok now. I started out watching all the dances and the comedy videos, but I've somehow deviated towards some of the more informational side of TikTok because they have a lot of like doctors and professionals just spreading information about what they do and kind of misconceptions that are usually out about the internet.
I would say for me, it's a little embarrassing, but I deleted all my social media. But sometimes I'll go on Twitter and I'll just see like what's happening or what's trending on Twitter. You don't have to have an account to do that. Fun fact. But also I just really enjoy this time for like Netflix and binging a lot of shows. So that's my main media right now.
Yeah, no, I love that, Morgan. And I think when I think about, oh, go ahead, Ayla. I'm sorry.
It's no problem, no worries. I was saying that my main media outlets are Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube TV, and yes, on Netflix. Several hours of that.
Absolutely. And even through all these different social media outlets and even just media outlets in general, we often see some type of sexual influence, right? Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. So I'm curious to know, even when we're thinking about our media outlets, what does that sexual influences? Are you guys seeing more of it, less of it? Tell me about your experience within sexual influences.
Definitely what I've seen lately. I feel that we're in a space now where sex is very open and it's given a more positive light. But the downside of that is there's not an emphasis on education. So it's like, here, sex is a wonderful thing. Sex is great. You should have it. But it doesn't show like any consequences. It doesn't show what precautions you should take. It's just, I can have all the sex I want and nothing's going to happen. And I feel like that's kind of a dangerous message because especially to the youth nowadays, we need to teach them like there are consequences and this is what you need to know if you're going to engage in this.
I find, especially on social media, that a lot of us suffer from the same wrong information or lack thereof. So we all think the same things, which end up being wrong. And it's kind of funny to form that band with people like, oh, we actually had the same lives. Like this same thing happened to me. And then I had to learn as a consequence of whatever I went through. And to kind of go off what Morgan was saying, there is that lack of information. We don't know the consequences. We don't know the right ways. And I think because the generation now that's using social media more is more open about sex, we're coming to realize what we don't actually know and what we should be teaching our children or the people younger than us.
Yeah, I definitely agree. On top of that, I would add that things are almost being over-sexualized, or like everything in the media is relating to sex in some way, which can be a good thing and a bad thing because it makes people like more comfortable with the topic of sex, but at the same time, it increases misinformation. So I think if we can like balance that or just have like the right type of information out there, but have it in a way that still empowers young people while they're educated, then I think we would be in a nice, safe zone. But right now, I think, like Morgan said, it can be potentially dangerous because there's so much misinformation out.
That's a really great point. Sorry, everyone. That's a really great point. There's a comment from Miss Stacy Moss, and it really goes to Mega's point. And that was, there's so much misinformation when it comes to sexual health, sexuality. Are you all trying to find ways when you're like, that's not what we've learned from GCAPP. That's not what we learned from the TMI Georgia app. Like, are you finding yourself having to verify different resources, that information and that the media is putting out there?
Definitely. I think the most important thing you can do is verify any information, because that might be true for someone else, not necessarily you. So I think using the resources like Googling it, finding doctors, or even using OK So, asking questions like, because you can make that specifically pertain to you and how that is affecting you, to make sure you are getting the right information. You're not harming yourself in any way. You're not feeding yourself with false information that you can potentially spread to someone else.
I agree with fact checking being so important. And I think no matter like where you're having the conversation, I think it's important to make sure that you feel safe and comfortable talking about it. And then after that conversation, maybe go off on your own to like make sure that the information was credible and correct. Because I think if we're in those like small contexts with just our friends, then that's how someone's misinformation can turn into someone else's truth, and then it just goes kind of downhill from there.
Most definitely. I definitely agree with what Mega and Tiffany were saying, because it's important to make sure you have access to the right information, and also have a person that is a credible source of the information, and just not asking, your BFF, even though you love your BFF, but just like not taking that as the truth.
Absolutely. Ayla, did you have something that you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, piggybacking off of everybody, I really feel like fact checking is one of the most important things that we can do as people and as a people, because having that one conversation with your friend, the information that your friend possibly uses, it may not always work for you. So I feel that finding your way of getting information, finding your understanding, is the best way in order to understand and interpret knowledge. So I'm a #1 fan of fact checking. That your sources are very credible, because all websites on the internet they don't give out comprehensive information.
Yeah, no, Ayla, that's a fantastic point. And even to piggyback off of that, I love our piggybacking, right? I love this chat. So Tiffany, you mentioned something earlier about you feel that the media is over sexualizing sex. And I think that is a lot of conversation for a lot of young people today, especially in college, but specifically even for people who identify as female. And so what do you think that is? Why do you think there's such an over-sexualization of women or female body individuals over males? Or do you feel like it's equal? Is it equal for everybody?
I think because for so long women's voices have been like hushed or pushed to the side. I think now that women are starting to feel like more free and more liberated, then it's kind of going from like 0 to 100 immediately, just kind of jumping all the way in instead of kind of easing into conversations like this. And I think because of that, that's why we see the over-sexualization of almost anything can be over-sexualized. So it's just kind of like, because we've been hushed for so long, now let's just go all the way in. Even if it doesn't particularly like pertain to sex, we can find a way to empower women or make women feel strong and confident, which in thus like relates it back to sex. So.
Most definitely, because I see this correlation, I guess, of when you take something negative and you turn it into a positive for you. So I know in the past, men have sexualized women, but now women, as Tiffany said, they use it as a source of empowerment. And I feel like the only danger in that is, or there's no danger, but when it's happening to kids, I feel like that's where the issue rises. Because when I did have social media, I would see that there were younger children, like younger than adolescents, and they're basically, I don't know if they were running their page or whatnot, but this sexualized image of children. And I feel like at a certain point, it's like, where do we like cut that sexualization piece off? Because it's like, these are kids at the end of the day. I don't think that they're ready to be, or anybody who doesn't want to be shouldn't be seen in that way. But I don't know. I just
kind of go off. I sexualizing ourselves. So I think it's more of our embracing our sexuality, and because of that, people are taking that as let's over sexualize everything, which is why these kids and whoever feel for them to be seen, for them to be heard, for them to feel confident, they need to be sexualized and appear sexy. And especially for kids, that shouldn't be the case. You can feel confident without sexualizing yourself. And I think that is completely, everyone's blinded on that now. Like, these 15-year-olds don't look how I looked when I was 15. It's all about looking grown up and looking a certain way so that you fit that sexy woman you see in media and movies, which isn't necessarily age-appropriate.
No, Mega, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking where we get the sexualization from. It's a lot of it does have to do with media, right? So people looking at these Instagram models and people being able to feeling like they have to fit this mold, right? We think that because we see one of our celebrities, or maybe even, it doesn't even have to be a celebrity. Let's keep it real, y'all. It could just be a friend that they're looking up to within their friend circle, dressing a certain way or acting a certain way, and that person wanting to go ahead and mimic, either to fit in or because they think it's okay. So my question for you ladies is, do you feel that sexual influences and body image in the media, is there correlation, or is it something that's separate? Tell me more about it. Ooh, did I stump you? No.
I would say I feel like it's more of a correlation now with young people trying to follow the trend. Basically, let's be honest, celebrities are trendsetters. Or anybody who is older than us, who has been what we've been through and is past that, or anybody at our age, anybody can be a trendsetter. We can be trendsetters right now, starting a conversation about sexual health matters. Get back on the topic. I feel like it's a correlation because anybody feels the need to be like a celebrity. Like they want, like when guys say, oh, I want to be like Mike, or I want to be like LeBron James, or when girls say, oh, I want to look like Beyonce, or make me look like this person. I really feel like the point of over-sexualization, it's become a trend now. And so many adolescents and so many young people are following in that trend that I guess it's just like Morgan said, when is the cutoff, or at what age is the proper age to say, hey, this isn't okay, or hey, maybe you should wait until you're a little bit older.
Absolutely. I think like with the rise of media and how younger people, like younger than us, are able to access media and see images of people who they look up to, maybe displaying themselves like in a more sexy way. I think it's something like you see that it's getting the boys' attention, you see that it's working for them, so why not try it for myself? But yeah, we kind of do have to figure out how to define the line, because if someone is below the age of consent, or if someone just doesn't want to originally be portrayed that way, but instead they're kind of feeding into it because the media is feeding into it, then I think that's a problem.
I feel like now this certain type of body is what is sexy and what is well liked on social media. This certain type of body type, you'll get all the likes from the boys and you'll get all the comments and you'll go viral. But I've also seen is a lot of combat to that, where people are saying every body type is beautiful as long as you're confident in your body type. That is what's sexy. That is what's beautiful. And I think as that movement continues, hopefully that stigma of these skinny girls with larger behinds are what's beautiful. And I think that's what gets on with those kids, those teenagers thinking, okay, I need to look like that. Let me start these diets, let me start these workouts, and start engaging in these very unhealthy behaviors, which can lead to lifelong diseases, ailments, like conditions, which we really should be also educating, but trying to steer away from.
Megan, that's really great. And I know that there's also a comment, because I know, Tiffany, you talked about it, and Mega, you just touched on it too. How important are social media likes and follows? Like, how important is that maybe to you all as individuals or towards just people that you know?
Okay,
From the things that I've experienced,
the social Oh, you can go. No, it's no problem. You can go.
Oh, you should. No, Ayla, you can go ahead.
No, you can go.
I was just gonna say, a reason I got off of social media is because the people that I was around, like I started to notice like how likes are super important, and like sometimes, you know, I would notice like if a picture didn't get a certain amount of likes, then I got to take that picture down. Or if I don't get this much attention on this or what I said, then I got to retract that statement. And I feel like social media should be used to put you out there, because social media is a brand. And so I feel that if you want to portray your brand, it shouldn't matter, you know, the likes that you get or the comments that you get. Like, of course, sometimes that hurts if it's a lot of negative, but when it comes to portraying your brand, I feel that you should stay true to that, because you developed that brand for a reason.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think even from personal experience, like last night, I was even contemplating, oh, should I take this off my Instagram story? Is it a little too out there? Like, what are people going to think about me? But the thing is that, like, my brand is me and your brand is you. So it's like, if we're not true to ourselves, then what's the point of portraying this false narrative just for likes on a computer?
Peer pressure of, I'm supposed to get this many likes on my social media because my friends are, and it kind of ended up being an unspoken competition of who's popular and who's not. And then we ended up editing our pictures the way we know people would like these pictures, and like posing different ways. And that's not me. I don't want to brand myself in this way. Like, that's not who I am. I don't want that to be me. I don't want to express myself in that way. It's okay if you do, but that's not me. And I think we all need to get past, okay, what's going to get popular, what's going to get viral. What is you? Who are you? Who are you trying to portray on social media?
Did you want to go?
Piggybacking off of what I feel like social media, share yourself with the world, share your brand, share all the positive about your life. But lately, coming from I've been seeing a lot of posts saying, if this gets X amount of likes, I'll do this, or I might delete later depending on how many likes it is. I really feel like people shouldn't depend on the likes or the comments or the attention, because if you feel like it's worthy enough to go on your page and it describes an extension of you, then why would you let something dead or something that's just material control you or control decisions? I really feel like when a person sees that their friends gets more, I really feel like their confidence level decreases. I think, well, maybe I'm not pretty enough, or maybe I should be like that person. And they begin to feel less of themselves, and they begin to try to make themselves so much like somebody else. And I feel like that's so dangerous. And I feel like having this conversation right now about confidence and sexual health matters and empowerment, I really feel like a lot of people should take an ear and listen to it, because I mean, you're supposed to have confidence about yourself, and no one should ever let a like or anybody take away your confidence or your self-esteem.
Ayla, that was so beautifully said. Yes, and I think this is a really great segue. So I want to jump back to a question that leads into this question. So it's a two-part question, two parts. So I have a comment and a question from Miss Aurora Smith, who says, how do you all educate yourselves? But then I also want you all to think about this question, picking off of Miss Smith, is what messages, as a young adult and as a young person, Ayla, what are the messages that you all would like to see the media portray in regards to sex and sexuality? And then how do you all, even if it's not portrayed, how do you all educate yourselves?
The second question, I think I would love to see the media portray sex and sex education in a way that is just like strictly fact-based and just aimed at getting the information out there without like making it super grim or making it super sexy or making it, or just like wrapping it up in any way. I would love to just be handed the truth from the media and have that like readily available for like the youth. But for myself personally, I have been educating myself through websites, through like Googling it for myself, through asking questions to trusted adults, through asking questions to peers, but then also fact checking that on my own and just making sure that things are lining up.
I can.
I guess I would like.
Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I would like to see the media portray over sexuality like after and something like that happening. I would at least like them to say if you have questions or more information about this and everything, then they would link the shows to, I would say, words right now, but I would link it to a pliable site or something trusted by many experts that will give people the knowledge that they need. I would like to see a lot of shows advocate for more education on STIs and STDs and also HIV/AIDS. I know that's an elephant in the room, and I feel like the only way to get an elephant out of the room is to talk it more and to educate everybody and themselves more on the topics.
For me, I would like to see media kind of informing the emotional aspect, but also the stuff that's not necessarily covered in school. I know school focuses on the consequences of it versus the other aspect, but also emphasizing that there's no normal to it. Every person is different, so if you don't experience the same thing, that's okay. For example, when the whole over-sexualization movement was happening, I felt like maybe I'm different. Like I don't over-sexualize everything, and maybe that makes me something's not right, something's not clicking. Maybe I'm not empowered, but that's not the case. That's just me. That's just who I am, and that's completely fine. And with that, like when I ask my questions, I make sure to go to trusted individuals, whether it be my friends or adults, and fact check what they're saying. But sometimes if they're too personal, I'll wait and I'll talk to them about my doctor, because I can give me a very impartial answer, and I know I can trust her, and she'll give me A through Z, what's going on and the resources I can take to get the answer that is best for me.
I would definitely say that like in terms of sexual education being promoted now, like it needs to be more real, and I guess a safe space created for the adolescents involved or whoever's being taught about, even adults, because some adults don't know. I wasn't fortunate enough to have a sex education program at my school. So a lot of things like I just wasn't aware of. And I feel like a lot of it pertained to the household I grew up in, because sex just wasn't talked about. So it's like you don't know this information, and then going out into the world, being an adult now, and like if you don't have that knowledge, that's not the best thing. So I feel like when we're spreading awareness about sex education, it just needs to be approached in a manner where kids feel comfortable to talk about it, and not necessarily demonizing sex, but making it's a good thing, but you need to know, the tools behind it or the education behind it, and the options that you have when partaking in these activities. When I've had questions about this, I've definitely gone to my friends that have had experience or that know, but I also go to a doctor and ask questions when like I need to know like the real deal stuff, like what's real, doctor. And then also I just Google stuff when I don't have time to go to the doctor. I just type in the Google search, but I make sure that it's a credible source that I'm getting the information from.
Yeah, I so agree with Morgan, and just like wanting to see sex talked about in more of like a relational way as well. Because I think when we skip the relationship part, whether it's the relationship from the parent to child passing down information, or doctor to patient, or friend to friend, or even just the context of sex, like is that in a relationship of itself, I think that relationship aspect is so important, and it helps us to shape and see like sex in a better light and a less like demeaning light.
I have, so Ms. Antoinette Bullock in the chat box wrote two really impactful comments, ladies, that I want to share with you. And this really goes into my next question. Ms. Bullock said, I think we want to have to redefine the term of sexy for our young people. Sometimes young people associate sexy with the idea of the IG models. However, sexy could also include drive, education, and ambition. She follows up by saying, I think we have to assist our young people in redefining their idea of what sexy means. Sexy is not solely associated to quote unquote IG models. So Ms. Bullock, thank you so much for your comments. And it really goes, right? What is the message that we want to get out to you all as young people, as young adults? What is the message that needs to be portrayed? So what message, not just what you want them to portray, but what is the message inclusive and holistically that you all would like to be portrayed?
I'll start because I love that comment. And I think, we need to redefine sexy, because to me, sexy is like things like drive, ambition, things from inside and not necessarily the outside. I think the outside is often placed first when it should be placed second. But yeah, I would love to just see sexy redefined as like looking inwardly first, seeing what's going on internally before everything external.
I definitely agree with Tiffany, because growing up, like I used to be afraid to say the word sexy because I thought that it meant like, something sexual, but that's not what it means at all. Like, as Tiffany said, you're looking inward and seeing what's inside. That's what makes you sexy. So
the biggest thing that could make you sexy is just being confident in yourself, whether that be your drive, your ambition, what you think you're good at, just being confident in yourself, because that also shows on the outside, the way you carry yourself, the way you walk into a room, how you present yourself to someone else. That confidence shows that you are truly happy with who you are and what you're doing. You know you, and no one can take that away from you.
Yeah, Mega, that was all the snaps for you, my love. That was so good. It's our perception. And Morgan, I love how you said, when you were younger, you thought sexy was not, it was something sexualized and a bad word to say, right? But redefining what sexy means is so important. And I think that goes back to sexual influences, right? We have to be able to not only educate and inform, but then we also have to believe it for ourselves too. So ladies, we have about 3 minutes left, but I want to give a shout out to my co-host. So thank you, co-host, in the chat box. I see you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your questions. And so I want us to end with some final messages, ladies. And so what is, and I'll start with Morgan. Morgan, based upon our conversation today, what have you gathered and what would you like to share? What would be your message that you want to, your final message to be shared?
I would definitely say there is a lot of work that needs to be done in the media in terms of the messages that we send out, especially to our younger audiences. There is a need to redefine the term sexy. And I just feel that we have to get to work. As change bearers, we have a responsibility to spread these messages and make sure that the generation coming up understands this from the jump, so that when they get to our age, they're not confused. They already know the positive messages. They're educated about what sexual practices, and they feel sexy about themselves, having nothing to do with being sexualized.
Tiffany, final message.
I would say that as young people, we have the ability to redefine the word sexy, because whether we realize it or not, we're a part of the media. By having social media accounts, that makes us a part of the media. So we and ourselves, we don't have to wait for the older generation to do it for us. Like, we can be change makers, and we can redefine sexy by what we post, by what we like, and by what we contribute to the media as a whole. So that is my challenge to young people, is just to take it upon themselves and to do your part in redefining sexy.
Thanks, Tiffany. Mega.
I want to say we have the power to change whatever we want to change. And I think that power starts with what you're putting out. You're only putting out factual things. You're only putting out yourself, who you are, what you want to portray, and that there's no concrete path that you need to travel. You don't need to be sexy by this age or sexualized by doing X, Y, and Z. You're sexy doing you, and that is your own definition to create and change as you're growing up. There's no path that you have to be on because your friend is or your mom or dad say you need to be. It's all up to you. You cater it to yourself.
Thanks, Mega. Last but certainly not least, Ayla.
Okay, I would say that right about now, it's our time to start defining who we are as a people. And it's time to step up and just take hold of our confidence and instill in the next generation, and as well as our generation, what the defining lines are, what sexual health is, what is teen pregnancy prevention, what is confidence, show confidence, always have your head held, shoulders standing up tall. Like, I really feel like we were put on this earth to help educate others and raise awareness. So if we're going to do something, it's the time is now to start raising awareness for all these issues, so that the next generation is educated and they make better decisions than the previous generations.
Beautiful, beautiful, great way to end it, Ayla. So everyone, ladies, I cannot thank you so much for your time, for your comments, for your insight. This has been a really great, influential chat. To my co-host in the chat box, we appreciate you and your comments and your feedback. We hope that you all learned a lot today. Our wonderful young people are probably going to be sticking around a little bit, maybe. But if you want to reach out to them, please reach out to me, and we will be able to have more conversations with our group of young people. So thank you for participating in our Campfire chat. And we are going to end this session and get ready for our 2:15 session with engaging young people in youth programming. So we'll see you all soon. Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Guys, thanks for